In our last lesson, we talked about Article 25 of the Civil Code. Article 25 is the proscription against thoughtless extravagance at a time of acute public want or emergency. Courts have the power to stop the shameless display of wealth at a time when others do not have enough for basic necessities. However, this power of the court is dormant. It can only be triggered upon a petition of a government or private charitable institution. In our last lesson, we also talked about the remedy of these institutions, and that is Rule 58 of the Rules of Court, which tells us about injunctions. Today, we're taking a look at Article 26 of the Civil Code. Again, it's one of the provisions under the chapter on human relations that's classified as reading matters for most professors. Article 26 has been the subject of at least one bar exam problem, and with the implementation of the Data Privacy Act of 2012, I feel it's ripe for a comeback either in your exams or even as a bar problem. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to 1. Identify the reasons why the Code Commission added Article 26. 2. Enumerate the instances when Article 26 applies. 3. Distinguish the cause of action under Article 26 with oral defamation under Article 358 of the Revised Penal Code. All of this and more coming right up! Hi, my name is Lex and welcome to Lex in Motion. In this channel, I'll be helping you build your competence, confidence, and capability in law school. Start today by hitting the subscribe button below. New episodes are posted every Friday. Article 26 of the Civil Code provides that every person shall respect the dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind of his neighbors and other persons. The following and similar acts, though they may not constitute a criminal offense, shall produce a cause of action for damages, prevention, and other relief. Number 1. Prying into the privacy of another's residence. 2. Meddling with or disturbing the private life or family relations of another. 3. Intriguing to cause another to be alienated from his friends. 4. Vexing or humiliating another on account of his religious beliefs, lowly station in life, place of birth, physical defect, or other personal condition. Ang Article 26 ay bahagi ng chapter on human relations or that part of the Civil Code that guides us on how we should behave towards one another in most aspects of our lives. This provision is directed once again towards every person, lahat tayo, at kung ating babalikan dito naman naiiba ang Article 24 dahil ito ay para sa mga korte, judges at justices. Tulad ng ibang provisions ng chapter on human relations, Article 26 defines for us different causes of action or reasons or legal basis for us to come to court and ask for some relief or remedy. Article 26 goes into the promotion and the protection of human dignity, the human person and his or her privacy. The point of this provision is to somehow preserve the peace and order among family, friends, and neighbors. If there is peace within the family and within the community, then we become somewhat more productive members of society. Under the Spanish Civil Code, the acts defined under Article 26, pakikialam sa bahay ng may bahay, pangiintriga, chismis at pakikiapi dahil hindi sapat na dahilan para magharap tayo sa husgado. Nung panahong iyon ay wala pa ring sistema ng dispute resolution na hatid sa atin ni Idol Raffy Tulfo. The Code Commission believes that if our laws do not afford the basic protection to human dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind, then our laws are lacking. Sang-ayon naman ako dito kapatid kasi kung iisipin natin paano kung wala ang Article 26. Pwedeng-pwede kang siraan ng isang tao sa iyong mga kapitbahay at mga kakilala na ikaw ay bobong abogado at pura ka lang lagay at umaasa ka lang sa mga kakilala mong judge o clerk of court. Pwedeng-pwede kang intrigahin na kabit mo si ganito kahit na bad breath ka. Pwede kang siraan sa inyong barangay at subdivision na di sana ay magiging mga kliyente mo. With Article 26, we have adequate protection and we have causes of action against particular acts that tend to disturb our peaceful lives. The same provision defines for us acts that entitle us to some reliefs. Let's take a look at each of them. Article 26 provides that every person at ang tinutukoy ng batas ay tayo, ikaw at ako, lahat tayo, shall respect the dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind of his neighbors and other persons. This provision imposes upon us the duty to respect four aspects of the lives of others. These are dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind. Dignity refers to basic human dignity that is inherent in every human being. Dignity is the right of a person to be valued and respected for their own sake and to be treated ethically. The fact na ikaw, kapatid, ay tao means that you are already entitled to the bare minimum respect that is due to a human being. Personality refers to one's individuality. Article 26 imposes the equal duty to respect your preferences, your choices, and the things that you value in life. Hindi ka bawasan ng iyong pagkatao kung ikaw ay maitim, kalbo at malaki tulad ko. Article 26 enjoins us to respect each other. Whether a person is straight, gay, or bisexual, whether a person believes in God, denies the existence of God, or just subscribe to the theory that there exists a higher being. Privacy, on the other hand, is guaranteed to us by the Constitution. It is essentially the right to be let alone. Ito ay yung karapatan na hindi ka pakialaman ng kapwa mong tao o maging ng Estado. Privacy refers to the right of a person to be free from unwarranted intrusions into private activities that may cause some form of humiliation to an ordinary person. Privacy means the right to be free from publicity, to be free from unwarranted interference by the public in matters in which the public is not necessarily concerned. Privacy exists when the general public is barred from entry, but only certain individuals are allowed. Lahat tayo ay pwedeng pumasok sa simbahan, sa mall at sa mga pasyalan. Pero may mga areas dito na bawal tayong lahat, kundi ang mga empleyado lang o authorized personnel lang ang pwede. This is the essence of privacy. Peace of mind refers to the maintenance of social order within and without a community, free from intrigue and curiosity from other persons. Inaatasan tayo ng Article 26 na umiwas sa chismis ng ating mga kapitbahay, maging lahat ng tao, kasama ang ating mga kaklase, katrabaho at iba pang miyembro ng ating komunidad. Article 26 also shows us some examples of acts which are not necessarily crimes. Even if these acts are not crimes, the law confers upon us the right to bring an action to court. Mamaya, pag-uusapan natin ang mga acts na yan. However, kapatid, let me add the language of the law, the following and similar acts. This means, kapatid, that the enumeration under Article 26 of the Civil Code is not exclusive. And similar acts tells us na kahit nawala sa mga nabanggit, basta malapit-lapit ay entitled pa rin sa reliefs. What reliefs? Article 26 tells us that these acts, kahit hindi nga sila mga crimes, can result in an action for damages, for prevention, and other reliefs. Damages here refer to actual, moral, and exemplary damages, just as we have for the civil aspect of crimes or those under torts or quasi-delicts. Prevention here means the action for injunction, as we have discussed in previous lessons. It is a remedy granted by the courts to temporarily or permanently stop a person from committing an act or acts. Other reliefs here covers a wide range of remedies. Kasama dito, kapatid, ay isang public apology mula sa defendant. Kung ang defendant naman ay isang newspaper, website, or some other publication, pwedeng isama sa reliefs ang isang retraction o pagbawi ng kanilang mga sinabi o isang rectification o pagsasatama ng kanilang maling sinabi o pinublish. Now, let's look at the individual acts enumerated by the Code Commission under Article 26. If you are watching with your copy of the Codal, please open your Codal to Article 26. Paragraph 1 provides, prying into the privacy of another's residence. Prying into the privacy o pakikialam sa bahay ng may bahay ang unang ipinagbabawal ng Article 26. When you think about it, kapatid, there is really no crime to look into the residence of another person. The mere act of prying into the residence of another person is not in itself a crime. It becomes a crime when a person does so with the intention of photographing and videotaping a couple engaged in a sexual act without their consent. Article 26, kapatid, specifically makes another person liable for invading the privacy of one's residence. According to Justice Paras, this protection extends not only to the residents but also to a person's name, picture, and personality. Pasok din dito sa paragraph 1 ng pakikialam ng opisina ng may opisina, ng negosyo ng may negosyo at anumang lugar na maaari nating ituring na private any other place away from the eyes of the public. Article 26, paragraph 1 also has exceptions. The protection under this paragraph will not apply when the name, image, and other information is needed for the publication of legitimate news value. Pasok sa paragraph 1 ay ang mga pasikatin natin si Kuyang Traffic Enforcer o mga video sa social media kung saan ipinapakita ang barubal na parking ng isang driver. Pasok din sa paragraph 1 ang viral post ng isang misis tungkol sa mga kabit o kalaguyo ng kanyang mister. All that the law here requires is that a person used another person's name, image, likeness without the consent of that person. The element of damage, whether that's in the form of fewer clients, lost business opportunities, or shame and embarrassment, becomes the measure for the right to damages. We will discuss this later when we get to the cases. Katulad ng aking unang nabanggit ang Article 26, specifically paragraph 1 ay nagiging mas mahalaga lalo na kung ito ay ating aaralin sa konteksto ng Data Privacy Act of 2012. Ayon sa Data Privacy Act, karapatan ng bawat tao na masabihan siya kung para saan at ano ang mga dahilan kung bakit kailangang kunin ang kanyang pangalan, address, cellphone number, email address at iba pang impormasyon. Karapatan nating malaman kung bakit tayo kukunan ng litrato o video. Karapatan nating tumanggi sa recording at kung sakaling ating kakailanganin ng CCTV footage mula sa isang restaurant o sa barangay, karapatan nating makakuha ng kopya lalo na kung gagamitin ito sa pagsasampa ng reklamo. Karapatan nating tumangging ibigay ang ating impormasyon sa mga taong nangongolekta nito for direct marketing, profiling, or other similar purposes. Applicable ito, kapatid, sa nagkalat na mga ahente ng internet service providers na nagpapasign up ng ating information pero hindi naman din tayo binabalikan. Kung sakaling tayo ay nagbigay ng ating impormasyon, karapatan din nating bawiin ang ating consent o pagsang-ayon. Karapatan nating palitan, baguhin o burahin ang impormasyong kinuha sa atin lalo na kung ito ay luma na. Kung may paglabag sa ating mga karapatan na aking nabanggit, tayo ay may karapatang magsampa ng reklamo sa National Privacy Commission. Sila naman ang bahalang mag-assess kung may violation at ito ay maaaring gamiting katibayan kung sakaling tayo ay maghahabla. Again, I must hasten to add that this could be an oversimplification of the Data Privacy Act of 2012. There is so much more that the law contains and it's something I'd love to discuss with you in future lessons. For now, let's move on to paragraph 2 of Article 26. Meddling with or disturbing the private life or family relations of another. The scope of paragraph 2 is much wider than that of paragraph 1. While the first paragraph merely prohibits the invasion of the privacy of another person's residence, office, name, image, or likeness, it is committed primarily by strangers or persons who have no relation with the offended party. Under paragraph 2, the scope is wider because it can pertain to family members, friends, and acquaintances, especially when there is no reasonable expectation of privacy. What the law requires here is that there must be an act or acts committed by any person that tends to disturb the peace and harmony of a family. The disruption is upon the relation of a person and the rest of his family. Pasok sa paragraph 2 ang pakikialam ng iyong biyenan, ng iyong mother-in-law or father-in-law sa relationship ninyong mag-asawa sa paraan ng inyong pagpapalaki sa inyong mga anak. Hindi sila strangers sa inyo at less ang privacy, syempre. Pero the law nevertheless defines for us a cause of action. Justice Paras also adds that a young woman who engages in an affair with a married man may not necessarily be liable under concubinage, but may be liable instead under paragraph 2 of Article 26. The extramarital affair in this case must tend to disturb the relations of the husband and wife and their family life. Pasok din sa paragraph 2 ang mga suki ng chismis sa ating mga barangay na kahit paringgan mo sa social media ay sige pa rin ang pagkakalat ng kung ano-anong mga kwentong hindi maganda. Kung sakaling kapatid ikaw ay mapika, maaari mong maging legal basis ang Article 26, Paragraph 2 at Article 364 ng Revised Penal Code. But more on that later when we get to the cases. Paragraph 3 talks about intriguing to cause another to be alienated from his friends. Again, this is very similar with the cause of action under paragraph 2. The actor acts under paragraph 2 tend to affect the relationship of one person and the rest of his family. Under paragraph 3, the impact is on the relationship of one person and his friends and community. Paragraphs 2 and 3 in effect, kapatid, are provisions that are called pleader's paradise. This means that however way a party argues or pleads his case, the liability is there because these two causes of action overlap with one another. In practical terms, kapatid, kung stranger o hindi family member ang iyong ihahabla, then my recommendation is for you to use both paragraphs 2 and 3. However way you argue, mas malakas ang dating ng liability. For as long as there is intrigue, gossip, or the reliance on hearsay that negatively affects a person, his professional standing, how his clients or business associates treat with him, or his reputation in the community, then there is liability under Article 26, Paragraph 3. Paragraph 4, or vexing or humiliating another on account of his religious beliefs, lowly station in life, place of birth, physical defect, or other personal condition also covers a lot of acts. This could also be the basis for religious, racial, or physical discrimination, except the discrimination against women and against indigenous peoples because these have their own special laws. Pasok sa paragraph 4 ang pagkakalat ng chismis o pamamahiya sa isang tao dahil sa kulay ng kanyang balat, dahil sa hugis ng kanyang ilong, body shaming sa mga malalaking tao, o mga post sa social media pointing to someone na jutay. The Code Commission says paragraph 4 covers unwarranted criticism about a person's health or finances without justifiable legal cause. It further points out that religious freedom can never authorize another person to heap shame, embarrassment, and insults upon another person. The list under Article 26 is not exclusive. It was never meant to be a complete list of acts where a person can claim damages, pray for an injunction, or obtain some other relief. So long as there is an attack on the human dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind of a person or his neighbors, then there is a cause of action under Article 26. The basis is the phrase "and other similar acts." Now kapatid, let's look at some of the cases under Article 26. One of the first cases brought to the Supreme Court on the basis of Article 26 is the case of St. Louis Realty Corporation versus Court of Appeals. Dr. Conrado Aramil filed an action for damages against St. Louis Realty Corporation sometime in 1969. Here's why. St. Louis Realty Corporation published an advertisement on the Sunday version of the Manila Times containing the photos of Mr. and Mrs. Arcadio S. Arcadio. Diba ang dalintandaan ng pangalan? The ad goes on to say that the couple had moved their family to Brookside Hills, one of the defendant's developments. Sabi sa kanilang patalasta sa dyaryo ay natupad na ang pangarap ng mag-asawa nung lumipat sila sa Brookside Hills. Nakabili na daw sila ng bahay at lupa sa halagang, wait for it, 31,000 pesos. Nabasa ni Dr. Conrado Aramil ang newspaper advertisement ng St. Louis Realty Corporation. Labis niya itong kinabahala dahil ang background ng pamilya Arcadio ay ang kanyang bahay. Sumulat si Dr. Conrado Aramil at sinabi niya na siya ay isang neuropsychiatrist at faculty member ng UERM. Sinabi niya na hindi siya nagbigay ng pahintulot na gamitin ang larawan ng kanyang bahay. Dahil sa newspaper advertisement ng St. Louis, hinihiritan ngayon si Dr. Aramil ng kanyang mga kasamahan sa trabaho na kamukha daw ng bahay niya ang nasa dyaryo. Na magkano daw ba ang renta nila sa bahay ng mga Arcadio at iba pang mga pasaring. Dr. Conrado Aramil filed an action for damages amounting to 110,000 pesos. Again, not a small amount in 1968. He averred that he gave no authorization or consent to the developer to take or use the photographs of his house. He claimed that he had invited friends, colleagues, and students residents to his house. They now live under the impression that this was not really his house, that he was merely renting. And the greater implication was that he was not a trustworthy person. 2 months later, St. Louis Realty Corporation published another ad, but this time it was a photograph of the Arcadio family in front of the real house. But still, no apologies. A month thereafter, the Realty Corporation published a notice of rectification or correction of the earlier advertisement. The regional trial court ruled in favor of Dr. Conrado Aramil. It was awarded damages but not in the amount originally prayed for. The Court of Appeals affirmed the ruling of the trial court. The Supreme Court, speaking through Justice Macasyar, adopted the findings of the Court of Appeals. Prying into the privacy of another's residence and meddling with or disturbing the private life or family relations of another and similar acts, though they may not constitute a criminal offense, shall produce a cause of action for damages, prevention, and other relief. Persons who know the residence of Dr. Aramil were confused by the distorted, lingering impression that he was renting his residence from Arcadio or that Arcadio had leased it from him. Either way, his private life was mistakenly and unnecessarily exposed. He suffered diminution of income and mental anguish. For these reasons, the Supreme Court found St. Louis Realty Corporation liable for prying into the privacy of the residence and the life of Dr. Conrado Aramil under paragraph 1 of Article 26 of the Civil Code. The next case I want to share with you is the classic case of Concepcion versus Court of Appeals. If there is one case that's going to be assigned to you in class, this would be it. Sometime in 1985, spouses Florence and Alem Nicolas filed an action for damages against Rodrigo Concepcion on the basis of Article 26 of the Civil Code. Nestor and Alem Nicolas ran a business called Floral Enterprises. They were engaged in the business of supplying office equipment, appliances, and other fixtures to government agencies and other entities on a cash or credit basis. They were renting an apartment owned by Florence Bing Concepcion. This apartment was also inside the compound where Bing lived. Bing Concepcion partnered with the spouses Nicolas and together they named their business Floral Enterprises, ang pinagdugtong na pangalan ni Florence Concepcion at Alem Nicolas. Kapital ang contribution ni Bing sa mag-asawa at sa pagbalik ng kanyang puhunan ay hinahati ang tubo sa kanya at sa mag-asawang Nicolas. Si Rodrigo Concepcion, ang defendant sa ating kaso, ay kapatid ng namatay na asawa ni Bing Concepcion. Nakarating kay Rodrigo ang balitang si Bing ay kabit ni Nestor. Tinawagan niya si Bing na siya namang itinanggi ang bintang na siya nga ay kabit ni Nestor. Sumugod si Rodrigo sa apartment ni Nestor at Alem Nicolas. Hoy Nestor, kabit ka ni Bing! Binigyan ka pa pala ni Bing Concepcion ng 100,000 pesos para umakyat ng Baguio. Pag akyat mo at ng asawa mo doon ay bababa ka uli para magkasarilinan kayo ni Bing. It was a busy afternoon and there were a lot of people milling around in the area. Kung dikit-dikit na apartment ito, kapatid, ay malamang kalat na ang chismis pagdating ng hapunan. Hinamon ni Rodrigo si Nestor na magharap-harap sila ng mga kamag-anak na nakapagkwento nito. Pinatulan siya ni Nestor pero pagdating sa mga bahay ng kamag-anak ay todo tanggi ang mga kamag-anak sa pagbibintang ni Rodrigo. Unsatisfied with this, the two of them went to the house of Bing Concepcion. Rodrigo reiterated his accusation which was promptly denied by Bing. Thereafter, Rodrigo backtracked, sabay bawi si kuya at sabi niya ay narinig lang niya sa isang kamag-anak. Sa pag-uwi ni Rodrigo, muling pinagbintangan si Bing sa telepono. Pinagbantaan din niya si Bing na kung sakaling may mangyari sa nanay nila ng kanyang yumaong asawa ay papatayin ni Rodrigo si Bing. This case happened in the 1980s, kapatid. For context, this was the time in the country when having a telephone was a status symbol. Needless to say, may kaya ang pamilya ni Bing at ni Rodrigo. Dahil sa mga nangyari, labis na napahiya si Nestor sa kanyang mga kakilala at mga kapitbahay. Nagkaroon ng pagdududa ang kanyang asawa na si Alem at naging dahilan upang sila ay laging magtalo at mag-away. Natigil na rin ang negosyo ng mag-asawa at ang pagsosyo ni Bing Concepcion. This prompted Nestor to write to Rodrigo to demand damages and a public apology. This was ignored by Rodrigo. Hence the instant case. In his defense, Rodrigo Concepcion denied publicly accusing Nestor of being his sister-in-law's paramour. He claimed that he merely wanted to protect the good name of Concepcion. He went to see Nestor to ask about their business and he merely casually asked about the affair. The regional trial court ruled in favor of the spouses Nicolas. The Court of Appeals affirmed the ruling of the trial court and awarded damages in their favor. The Supreme Court, speaking through Justice Mendoza, sustained the findings of the lower court. The violations mentioned in Article 26 are not exclusive but are merely examples and do not preclude other similar or analogous acts. Damages therefore are allowable for actions against a person's dignity such as profane, insulting, humiliating, scandalous, or abusive language. In this case, there is no question that Nestor Nicolas suffered mental anguish, besmirched reputation, wounded feelings, and social humiliation as a proximate result of Rodrigo's abusive, scandalous, and insulting language. Justice Mendoza also explained the reasons why we have Article 26 of the Civil Code. The philosophy behind Article 26 underscores the necessity for its inclusion in our civil law. The Code Commission stressed in no uncertain terms that the human personality must be exalted. The sacredness of human personality is a concomitant consideration of every plan for human amelioration. The touchstone of every system of law, of the culture and civilization of every country is how far it dignifies man. If the statutes insufficiently protect a person from being unjustly humiliated, in short, if human personality is not exalted, then the laws are indeed defective. Thus, under this article, the rights of persons are amply protected and damages are provided for violations of a person's dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind. Sa aking unang dalawang kaso na banggit, itinuturo sa atin ng Supreme Court na kalakip ng right to privacy maging ang larawan lang ng ating mga pamamahay. Ikalawa, hindi naman importante na ang aksyon ay kasama sa mga nabanggit sa Article 26. The list is not exclusive. In another case, the Supreme Court extended the right to privacy under Article 26 not only to residences but also to our places of business. This is the case of spouses Hing versus Chua Choy. Sometime in 2005, spouses Bill and Victoria Hing filed an action for injunction and damages before the Regional Trial Court of Mandaue City versus Alexander and Alan Chua Choy. Both parties were neighbors. This case was actually a result of an earlier case filed by Alexander and Alan Chua Choy on behalf of their company Aldo Development and Resources Incorporated. In this earlier case, the Chua Choy sought to prevent the spouses from continuing their illegal construction on their property because it could destroy the wall between their properties. In order to obtain proof of the illegal construction, they installed and operated surveillance cameras. Noong malaman na Bill at Victoria Hing ang tungkol sa CCTV, sila naman ang naghabla dahil ito daw ay violation ng kanilang privacy. Sumagot ngayon ang mga Chua Choy, sinabi nila ng surveillance cameras ay para sa kanilang negosyo para sa Aldo Goodyear Servitec na nasa loob ng kanilang property. The Regional Trial Court granted the prayer for an injunction and ordered the Chua Choy to remove the surveillance cameras and to operate it so as not to capture the residence of the spouses Hing. On appeal, the Court of Appeals reversed the Regional Trial Court. It ruled that the Chua Choys are mere stockholders of Aldo Development and Resources Incorporated. Thus, they could not have ordered or operated the surveillance cameras. Further, the property was used not for residential purposes and thus Article 26 of the Civil Code does not apply. The Supreme Court, speaking through Justice Del Castillo, teaches us that an individual's right to privacy under Article 26, Paragraph 1 of the Civil Code should not be confined to his house or residence, as it may extend to places where he has the right to exclude the public or deny them access. The phrase prying into the privacy of another's residence therefore covers places, locations, or even situations which an individual considers as private. As long as his right is recognized by society, other individuals may not infringe on his right to privacy. The Court of Appeals therefore erred in limiting the application of Article 26, Paragraph 1 of the Civil Code only to residences. Article 26 paragraph 1 recognizes that a man's house is his castle, where his right to privacy cannot be denied or even restricted by others. It includes any act of intrusion into, peeping, or peering inquisitively into the residence of another without the consent of the latter. The court also found that the camera was positioned in such a way that only a portion of the roof of Aldo was captured. The majority of the frame showed the property of the spouse's hing. Next case is Manaloto et al. Versus Ismael Veloso III. This is a very good case because it covers a lot of ground in remedial law and a good discussion on Article 19 or the principle of abuse of rights in relation to Article 26 of the Civil Code. I will be leaving a link to this and the rest of the cases in the description down below. Ermelinda Manaloto and a bunch of other people were the lessors of number 42 Big Horseshoe Drive, Horseshoe Village, Quezon City. They were renting it out for the sum of 17,000 pesos per month to Ismael Veloso III. Ismael Veloso III is the grandson of the late Senator Jose Veloso and son of Congressman Ismael Veloso. Sometime in 1998, Ermelinda Manaloto et al. Filed an action for unlawful detainer before the Metropolitan Trial Court of Quezon City after they demanded that Ismael Veloso pay the unpaid rentals and to vacate the house. Ang unlawful detainer ay isang special civil action sa ilalim ng Rule 70 of the Rules of Court. Heto ay kinakaso kapatid para alisin ang isang tao na hindi nakakabayad ng upa o mga taong pinatira lang sa isang bahay o property at ngayon ay ayaw nang umalis. Iginiit ni Ismael na hindi siya nagbabayad dahil advanced pa siya ng 825,000 pesos at kasalukuyan niyang ginagastosan ng repair ng property dahil ayaw itong ipagawa ng mga may-ari. Natalo si Ismael Veloso sa Metropolitan Trial Court. Inutusan siya ng Metropolitan Trial Court na magbayad ng unpaid rentals. Not satisfied, Ismael Veloso III filed an appeal to the Regional Trial Court. It was during the pendency of this appeal that Ermelinda Manaloto et al. Distributed copies of the decision of the lower court to the homeowners of the village. These people were once upon a time calling for Ismael Veloso to start his political career, initially as a barangay chairman. Now they have retracted their support upon learning that he was not paying rent. The Regional Trial Court ruled in favor of Ismael Veloso III and ordered Ermelinda Manaloto et al. To pay 2 million pesos in moral, consequential, and exemplary damages. The Court of Appeals affirmed the ruling of the Regional Trial Court but reduced the award of damages. The Supreme Court, speaking through Justice Leonardo de Castro, ruled that the controversy is rooted in the dissemination by petitioners of the METC judgment against respondent to Horseshoe Village homeowners who were not involved in the unlawful detainer case, thus purportedly affecting negatively respondents' good name and reputation among said homeowners. The court declared that the decisions of the courts are public records. Every person has the right to see and copy judicial documents. While it is true that Ermelinda Manaloto and et al.'s actions were against Article 26 of the Civil Code, Ismael Veloso III failed to prove the bad faith on the part of the lessors. Bad faith, on the other hand, does not simply connote bad judgment to simple negligence. It imports a dishonest purpose or some moral obliquity and conscious doing of a wrong, a breach of a known duty due to some motive or interest or ill will that partakes of the nature of fraud. Malice, on the other hand, connotes ill will or spite and speaks not in response to duty. It implies an intention to do ulterior and unjustifiable harm. Just because a party comes to court with a complete set of allegations amounting to a valid cause of action does not mean that a party is entitled to the relief prayed for. This was the fault of the part of Veloso. Sumugad lang siya sa husgado crying foul ang ginawa na pagkalat sa desisyon laban sa kanya pero hindi naman niya napatunayan na dapat nga siyang mabayaran ng danyos. Finally, no discussion under Article 26 of the Civil Code will be complete without first discussing crimes against honor as laid down for us in the revised Penal Code. Defamation is the umbrella term which includes libel and slander. These cover the offenses that injure any person's person's character, fame, and reputation through false and malicious statements. When we look at defamation, the law requires that there must be an imputation of a crime or of a vice or defect. Hindi material kung totoo o hindi ang pagbibintang. Kailangan lang sinabi ng akusado na ikaw ay estapador, mandurukot, kurakot o babaero. The imputation also has to be directed to a natural or juridical person in a public manner and with malice behind the accused or offender. Defamation also requires that the imputation must tend to cause the dishonor, discredit, or contempt of the person so defamed. Kung walang effect ang defamation dahil walang nakarinig o walang nakabasa, then there is no crime. Kung hindi naman nasiraan ng puri ang isang tao dahil sa isip mo lang ang mga bad words, then there is no defamation. It has to affect someone else for it to count. If the defamation is committed by means of writing, printing, radio, video, or other exhibition, then the act is classified as libel. If spoken words are used, then the more accurate term for oral defamation is slander. Oral defamation is punished under Article 358 of the Revised Penal Code. It is classified either as simple slander or grave slander. Grave slander depends upon the expressions used by the accused. It also depends on the personal relations of the accused and the offended party and the circumstances surrounding the case. Grave slander na maituturing ang pagkakalat sa balitang si X ay naibenta na ang ating union. Grave slander din na sabihin na estapador, mayabang at tunawang utak ng isang dating huwes, dating presidente ng local IBP chapter at respetadong abogado. Simple slander naman na tawaging gangster ang isang tao sa gitna ng sermon o homily ng isang pari. Simple slander din kung ang iyong mga nasabi ay nasabi mo lang dahil nadala ka sa emosyon mo sa gitna ng isang alitan, lalo na kung merong provocation. On the other hand, the crime of intriguing against honor is defined for us under Article 364 of the Revised Penal Code. It is committed by any person who shall make any intrigue against another person. The purpose of the intrigue is to blemish the honor or reputation of another person. The cause of action under Article 26, Paragraph 3 directly overlaps with Article 364 of the Revised Penal Code. Oral defamation under Article 358 of the Revised Penal Code overlaps with other similar acts na siya namang nabanggit sa ilalim ng Article 26. Katulad ng aking unang nabanggit, ang Article 358 at 364 ng Revised Penal Code ay ang mga pleader's paradise. Either way you argue, kapatid, so long as you argue correctly, one of these causes of action will stick and you can pin liability upon the offender or the defendant. In practical terms, filing an action under the Revised Penal Code is essentially free. Oras mo lang ang puhunan. The risk is that the quantum of proof required to secure a conviction is proof beyond reasonable doubt. This means that you have to prove with more or less some degree of moral certainty that the acts complained of actually happened. You can collect damages on criminal cases or you can reserve the right to file a separate civil action. Another option is an action for injunction, damages, or other reliefs under Article 26 of the Civil Code. The quantum of proof is much lower. Civil cases require only a mere preponderance of evidence. The rules on civil cases are much more relaxed, and there are different ways of attacking or countering a single issue. The damages you can collect here can be significantly higher, but a civil case will also be more expensive. If you are counsel for the offended party, then my recommendation is for you to file the criminal action, make an entry for your appearance as a private prosecutor under the direct supervision of the public prosecutor, and argue your case with the reservation to file a separate civil action. If you obtain a conviction, then you can collect damages in another case. If you lose and the defendant walks away, you can file another action, this time for damages only if the ground of the acquittal is reasonable doubt. Pasensya na kapatid kung medyo technical ang last part, especially when it comes to practice. But I would like to make it a point to share the law with you, not only as you would read the law in textbooks, kundi kung ano ang magandang diskarte pagdating sa korte. I'd love to discuss more about this with you when we start our series in civil procedure and criminal procedure, and also when we get to the later lessons here in persons. To summarize tonight's lesson, number 1, Article 26 of the Civil Code primarily protects the dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind of every person. 2. The right to privacy extends to a person's name, image, likeness, residence, office, or any other place where the public is barred, but certain individuals are allowed to enter. 3. The causes of action enumerated under this provision overlap with the crimes of oral defamation and intriguing against honor under Articles 358 and 364 of the Revised Penal Code. 4. The acts under Article 26 are not exclusive. Damages, injunctions, and other reliefs may also apply to other similar or analogous acts. YouTube Analytics has repeatedly suggested that this series on persons and family relations has reached the end of its life cycle, that it's no longer producing the results it once had. Mas konti ang nanonood o mas konti ang oras ng panonood. Kung may bagong lesson, hindi rin ito masyadong pinapansin. YouTube Analytics has suggested that I end the series and focus instead on other forms of content on this channel. While I agree with the suggestions, ayoko muna sana kapatid na mahinto ang ating discussion. Quiz pa rin tayo kapatid, kahit konti na lang ang mga sumasagot. Let's do the multiple choice questions again for us to test what you have learned from this lesson. If you would like us to continue, please type yes in the comments down below. If this series on introduction to persons has helped you or your classmates, please find some way to let me know in the comment section below. Gusto ko sanang ipagpatuloy natin kapatid. Gusto ko rin sigurong marinig mula sa iyo na ito ay nakakatulong. Thank you so much for watching. Like and share this video for good law school karma, and I will see you on Friday.